folks, it's Appell, and I'm super excited to be bringing to you another quilt block from Charisma Horton Summer Camp Quilt. Even though it's a little off-seasonally chilly, we're having a great time on our progressive quilt camp out, and I'm super excited to see you for our moon block. Are you ready? Let's get started. Well, welcome back to another outdoor tutorial. Tonight's main feature is, yes, the wonderful applique block, the moon block. I think it's the second simplest block in all of the Summer Camp Quilt that is 60 inches by 72 inches from Charisma Horton, and we're just gonna have an absolute blast. I'm gonna walk you through a very quick tutorial tonight, and I thought it would be really fun to do it here in the dark with all the off-road lights. I mean, I had to have an excuse to get all the off-road lights, right? So we've got to make them useful for this one quilt block. I promise all the other blocks are shot in other beautiful locations, but with all of the lights on. And with that said, let's dive right in. You're going to need your pattern. Now, whether you've gotten your pattern from us at Stitchin Heaven or your kit that's available in the link in the description below, or if you're getting a digital download, I just want to point out that with the digital downloads, you always want to make sure that any templates are to scale, that you've printed them at the right size. And there's usually a 1-inch marker on your digital downloads that'll show you that you lay that under a ruler and that your scale is correct. Now folks, tonight we're just making an applique block. So if yours was a little larger or a little smaller, it would not matter too much because it's not going to be affecting the size of the background. But we have another block coming up that's going to be using templates for patchwork. So do make sure if you're using a digital download that your scale is correct. Moving forward, we don't want you to get thrown off on any of the cutting templates. Now with that said, this is, I think, like I said, the second easiest block in the entire pattern. The first easiest block is the other half, where we've asked you to cut two 12.5-inch blocks of your background fabric. One is just the night sky, so that's the easiest block of all. The second is where your moon applique is going to be. Now this applique is a raw edge or a fusible raw edge, and so therefore I'm going to use my Heat and Bond Feather Light. You can use whatever fusible web you like as long as you know how to use it and follow your manufacturer's instructions. So I'll be talking about Heat and Bond here, and what I like to do is I'm going to draw the design on the back side, which is the paper, not the shiny side of the fusible web. Now this particular template comes in 2 pages or 2 parts. So what you need to do is you need to draw the first half of the template, including that straight dotted red line, and then match that up to the other half of the template. And folks, just to give you a quick tip, or point, don't put the tip too close to the edge of the fusible web when you're first starting. Give yourself a little bit of room all the way around for your drawing. But once your drawing line is on there, do take the time to cut away most of the extra fusible web. Leave maybe a 1/4 inch or so outside of the line you're going to cut on once it's pressed to the fabric. And I guess that's really the next step, right? Is you're just going to go from there and you're going to press that traced fusible web onto the back side of your fabric. And in this pattern, you're using a yellow and a gold fabric. So I'm using the gold, the little bit darker of the 2 yellows for the moon applique. And so once that has been ironed on the back, you can go ahead and use your scissors, you can use a small rotary cutter, but I was out here in nature and I wanted to try something, so I actually used Alex Anderson's Quilter Select. It's a really heavy 45mm rotary cutter, and I used that with my rotating Martelli mat here and actually cut almost a perfect circle with very little trouble whatsoever. It was very, very simple, inside arc as well. So that was kind of something fun I was just experimenting with because I was out here in nature and I like to use what I have. That's one of my favorite things about camping, and I guess quilting for that matter too. It allows us to think of our resources and be resourceful and creative with what we have. But back to the block at hand. Once you do have it cut out, whether it's scissor or rotary cut on your applique, now this is not needle turn, so you're just going to press it down and you're going to have these raw edges. But you're going to have several other blocks to create as you follow along. So what I'm going to recommend is you take the time to either satin stitch or blanket stitch with a matching thread. But I just had the blue thread, the contrary thread, so I just did a straight line stitching. And because I didn't have stabilizer with me, I actually used a piece of binder paper I borrowed from a friend, just recycled paper, and I just used it as a stabilizer from the back. So I was stitching with my regular straight stitch through the 2 layers and the layer of paper, taking it nice and slow, and it worked magnificently for me as I was making my way through getting all of that anchored down. So it looks like it's about time to get the fire stoked back up. I think it's time to fire up some marshmallows this evening and have a wonderful rest of tonight's big adventure. The rest of the videos will take us to some amazing new places. We're going to see some really fun, easy patchwork. And oh, sorry about that, folks. And just have a wonderful time sewing and quilting together as I camp my way through the Pacific Northwest. When this quilt is all put together, I am going to show up at the designer's house herself. That's right, Charisma Horton is working on a wonderful new sewing studio. And I really want to meet the chickens, maybe pick up some fresh eggs. And at any rate, Charisma's going to help us all quilt this quilt if I can get the quilt top done by the time I get there, and I've still got at least a week to go. So I'm feeling pretty good about the way this is going, and of course I love being outdoors with all of you working on this quilt. So I'm so glad you're following along, and until I see all of you again with one of these projects, I just will say stay creative and stay well. Thanks, folks. Good night. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. It really helps support our channel. If you haven't subscribed, do so now. Hit the little button to be notified every time we go live or do a new video for all of you. And here's one from the past I think you'll really enjoy.